Leah Chase, Gumbo, Art, and Compassion. Leah Chase was a chef, wife, mother, activist, and friend to all. She was known as the Queen of Creole for her fabulous Creole classics. Chase was born in Madisonville, Louisiana in 1923. It was there where her love of food first began. She grew up tending the garden and eating the quail that roamed their fields. She learned to cook at a young age and took turns in the kitchen with her sisters. Her parents were God-fearing people. It was them that gave her the strong faith and passion for helping others. Chase was just 13 when she moved to New Orleans. She began attending a Catholic high school in the French Quarter. While in the French Quarter, she learned a lot about high-class society, white privilege, and restaurants. At the age of 16, she graduated and moved home. She worked at the local school until her 18th birthday. It was then that she moved back to New Orleans. Chase was expected to work in a sewing factory, shooting pockets every day. But she couldn't do that, so instead she waitressed in the French Quarter. This was the first time she'd ever stepped foot into a restaurant. Chase worked hard and grew close with the owners. She helped expand the restaurant and started cooking a little too. Her big break was when a pot of her jambalaya sold out in about 5 minutes, as her friend and colleague John Folsey put it. Chase continued to cook, but knew she wanted much more out of this business. She wanted her own restaurant. It was around that time when she met Edgar Dookie Chase. He was a musician, and Leah was in the crowd. She caught his eye, and the two hit it off. This was despite the fact that Leah's type was athletic, muscular men, not musicians. However, the two grew very fond of each other and married 3 months later. It just so happened that Edgar's parents owned a small bar called Dookie Chase's in the Treme district. So Chase went to work for them. She had lots of ideas on how to transform a small bar into a high-class dining area. Chase had served all sorts of French cuisine and wanted to serve it there too. However, Chase's mother-in-law wasn't too impressed. In those days, integrated dining was illegal, so black folks didn't eat in restaurants, meaning the people Chase would serve wouldn't have any idea what those French dishes were. So Chase compromised and added amplified Creole dishes to the menu. Dookie Chase's became a hit. Soon, when black folks said they were going to the restaurant, that meant they were going to Dookie's. The restaurant became the first and only white tablecloth establishment that black folks could eat at. Chase saw a future in which racism and segregation didn't exist. People of any background could be exposed to the privileges white people encountered every day. Black folks could eat in any restaurant, see any play or movie, and go to museums. Chase was molding this dream, and she wanted to share it. Soon the community understood her passion and saw the importance it held. Chase opened her doors to anyone. So when the civil rights movement came to New Orleans, it's no surprise that Chase was waiting with her arms wide open. Many conversations and plans were made in the upstairs room of Dookie Chase's. White and black folks could congregate without fear of the police. Since the district was so small, the police knew the Chases and were friendly with each other. Segregated housing also wasn't as prevalent, so while you weren't friends with your neighbors, you knew who they were and what they were about. This made it a lot easier for activists to endure racial pressures. Chase was often quoted saying, "We changed the course of America over a bowl of gumbo." Chase was very involved in the restaurant. She didn't just cook, though. She made it a point to chat with her guests. She was interested in creating a home-like environment and showing her great hospitality. Her love for the community didn't stop at the door of Dookie Chase's, though. Chase was highly involved with the community. She helped put on Ebony Magazine's first fashion fair, which is a national event today. The magazine focuses on news, entertainment, and culture in Black American community. Ebony found its start covering civil rights activists and has since continued to report. However, its last print edition was in the spring of 2019. Chase was influential in former Mayor Ernest Dutch Morial's campaign. Morial was the first black mayor of New Orleans. He received his first donation from Chase. Her monetary support allowed her to give a presentation in France that highlighted why the World's Fair should come to New Orleans. Chase's generosity helped so many Black Americans grow into important characters in their field. She supported many people, but her most famous efforts is for the Black art community. In the 70s, Chase's friend, Celestine Cook, put Chase on the ballot for a board position at the New Orleans Museum of Art. At the time, Chase didn't know anything about art, but she was eager to learn. She began educating herself and eventually bought her first piece. It was that first buy that began Chase's collection of local and Black artwork. She hung the pieces in the dining room of Dukie's. Soon it became a gallery in its own right. This was a wonderful thing for Black artists, as galleries didn't show their work. So this was a chance for Black artists to be recognized and showcased. While Chase didn't know much about art until later in life, she believed that the arts are an investment in the education of the neighborhood. Kids need to see something beautiful and breathtaking in order to aspire to higher things and value living more. Her love and respect for the arts was a great push for African American respect in the art community. Because she was so involved, when she needed help, everyone came to her rescue. Hurricane Katrina struck and devastated Louisiana in 2005. Many are still feeling the effects of Katrina, and for a while Chase wasn't sure Dukie's would be able to reopen. Thankfully, community members and responder teams salvaged most of the artwork. Friends and family all over the nation came to Chase's aid, raising money and rebuilding the restaurant. Chase had been there for so many people, and Dookie Chase's was a staple of New Orleans. During this time, the Chases considered relocating into a different part of the city. Quickly, that thought was brushed aside. Treme was and is their home. They couldn't fathom leaving the neighborhood that had been so kind to them. Many of the staff lived nearby, and the area had become a family. When it came down to it, the restaurant was like an anchor in this neighborhood. Chase's efforts in the community, culinary field, and art world resonated with many. Throughout her life, she accomplished many things and was awarded for them. Chase was much more than a gifted chef, although she would argue that there is no greater calling than feeding people. Chase warmed bellies with her cooking and hearts with her love for people. Her work with the civil rights movement granted her many honors from the NAACP, and she received the Outstanding Woman Award from the National Council of Negro Women. Chase was a believer of women. She knew women could do great things in a man's world. She was often quoted saying, "You have to look like a girl, act like a lady, think like a man, and work like a dog." Her efforts were met with a great praise and respect from her customers and colleagues alike. Chase's culinary genius has landed her many awards, such as the coveted Times Picayune 1997 Loving Cup Award. She is also honored and featured in the Culture Expressions Gallery of the newly opened Smithsonian's National Museum of African American History and Culture in Washington, D.C. Her culinary abilities are astounding. She fed presidents and paupers alike and made her New Orleans restaurant into a kind of church. Her faith and service awarded her the Weiss Award for the National Conference of Christians and Jews, the Torch Liberty Award from the Anti-Defamation League of B'nai B'rith, and the University of New Orleans Entrepreneurship Award. Her awards and honors are just the tipping point for Chase. She also served on many organizations' boards. These boards include the Art Council of New Orleans, the Children's Museum, the Urban League of Greater New Orleans, the Greater New Orleans Foundation, and the New Orleans Museum of Art. All of Chase's efforts have culminated into the accomplished life she had. She's one of 10 inductees to the African American Chefs Hall of Fame. Of those 10, she is one of 2 women. She has received many awards and honors in her lifetime, and they are well deserved. Chase lived a long, generous life, full of food, public service, and art. Generosity and hospitality are what brought people from all over the country to Dookie Chase's. Leah Chase worked hard to create a loving and social environment for everyone who entered her restaurant. She cared about her patrons and knew what food people liked.
Everything you cook It brings back memories. Everybody who came through my restaurant. Lena Horne, who liked her fried chickens. Sarah Bone, who liked her stuffed crabs. And Quincy Jones and all those people who love gumbo. Michael Jackson with his sweet potato pies. You think about them every time you cook.
Leah Chase passed on June 1st, 2019, but she left a great legacy behind. She lived by her husband, Edgar, who passed in 2016, and their 4 children, 16 grandchildren, and 28 great-grandchildren. She left behind many friends, colleagues, and supporters. They loved Chase for everything she stood for, and they will continue to preach her way of life. Chase cooked for many celebrities and public figures alike. I doubt former President Barack Obama will forget the day Chase scolded him for trying to add hot sauce to her dish. Speaking of food, Chase was the queen of Creole, after all. Dookie Chase's continues to serve Chase's most famous dishes, one of which is only sold on Holy Thursday, where she served gumbo zaherbs, a special dish that requires 9 different kinds of greens. The lunch event is sold out a year in advance and seats almost 700 guests. Leah Chase also leaves behind a gallery of artwork from local and Black artists. She was a patron of the arts and left behind a beautiful selection. Lastly, Chase leaves behind her ideology of life, forever cemented in cinematic history. She is the real-life inspiration for Tiana from Disney's The Princess and the Frog. Chase is perfectly summed up in this one character. You can see the culinary ability as well as her love for sharing that gift.
Done. What?
Well, sweetheart, this is the best gumbo I've ever tasted. Come here. Eudora, our little girl got a gift.
I could have told you that.
A gift this special just gotta be shared.
Hey, everybody, I made gumbo.
Smells good. Y'all didn't grab your pecan pie.
You know, the thing about good food, it brings folks together from all walks of life.
Chase told Louisiana Public Broadcasting that she likes to prepare food and she likes to have it done right, fixed up nice so people can eat it and enjoy it. She thinks she'll be happy doing that for the rest of her life. Leah Chase did just that. She cooked for each of her guests as long as she could. Chase opened her restaurant and her heart to everyone she met, from friends and family to civil rights activists to celebrities and presidents. Chase certainly changed the world over a bowl of gumbo.